Okay, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk about fear and how you can release fear. Fear is definitely something that we need to let go of. Okay, so I want to talk about two ways that we can release fear that I use every day. And it follows on very nicely from what we already covered in the last couple of videos about acceptance. Okay, so pretty much when you think about fear, fear is fantasy with a bad ending, right? Fear is your mind creating some version of reality that doesn't make any sense. And it is holding us back because we believe in it. We believe in the thing that the fear is projecting. Think of it like, like a shadow, right? A shadow is just a projection. A shadow isn't a real thing. It's just a projection, but we believe in it as being a real thing, right? You might see a shadow of a person and think it's a person. The shadow isn't the person. It's just, yeah, it's like hardly even there, right? But if you believe it's a person, you might even be scared, right? And it might control you. Yeah, think of it like, mm, yeah, like when movies first came out, people would go in a theater and like a train would be coming towards the audience and everyone's so scared. And then it just comes right through and everyone might be running in fear. If you believed that projection, you might get really scared. But it's really just a projection, right? So there's something that the mind is projecting when it comes to fear. There's something that's being projected, imagined, fantasy. And that is, you know, okay, as long as we don't believe in it. So believing in it is the problem. Okay. When we believe in it, then it causes intense fear. The fear is a response to a belief that the fantasy is real. Okay. So think about some of your fears, right? I fear I can't pay rent this month. I fear I'll never get my business going. I fear that I'll be stuck in this bad relationship for life. I fear that I'll never find the right partner. I fear that, my health is going to deteriorate. I fear that I just will never live the way I want to. People fear lots of things, especially about like survival based things like money and food and stuff. What are the fears that control you? What are the fears that take away your power? Right? So this is the question. And just remember these two things. One, that fear is a fantasy with a bad ending. And, two, you don't have to believe in it. You don't have to believe in this fear. You can just see through it, right? I love to just see through the fear. So let's apply this to your life. The way that I like to approach fear is besides what I've already said, is I've realized that it doesn't make any sense. Whatever the fear is projecting doesn't make sense. It's not real. Realize that it's not real. But number two is we accept the worst case scenario of the fear. So the fear might be projecting something like, I won't have enough money to pay rent this month or to eat food. I might not have enough money for that. Okay. So that's a fear, isn't it? And we believe in it. So we can talk about how it doesn't make sense. And sometimes that is very helpful, but sometimes it makes a little sense. And sometimes it's hard to stop believing in it. And we need to do this other one, which is just accept it. Accept the worst case scenario. Okay, so what happens? Okay, I can't pay money for rent. What's the worst case scenario? Okay, they put an eviction notice on my door. Legally, they can't throw me out, right? So they put an eviction notice on my door, or I have to call my parents for help, or I have to like get one more client and just do extra work just so I definitely get the sale, or I have to eat a little bit less, fast a little bit, or ask a friend or get a credit card, like these are some of the worst case scenarios. Or, sleep in our car. Maybe we do have to leave. We have to sleep in our car. I've done this. So once you accept the worst case scenario, it stops having power over you. You stop fearing it. You start to be at peace. And then from that place, you can act well. right? If I'm not scared of losing my house, then I can act appropriately and keep it, right? Whereas if I'm scared, a lot of times fear creates what we're scared of, right? I know somebody who was she was married to somebody, and this person was very afraid of losing her, and that fear kind of manifested as her leaving, right? And I know that I've had things like this in my life. I had fear that I was going to lose a certain client, and as a result, my energy was just a certain way, and I just acted a certain way where I lost the client, right? Whereas if I had more confidence and I no fear, I'm not going to lose this client. There's no fear about losing the client. Then I can just act in a way where I keep them. Does that make sense? Okay. So the fear creates what we're scared of in many cases. If we feed it, if you feed it, it will start to manifest this scary version of reality. So we need to not feed it, and we need to see through it as just a fantasy. But we also need to stop giving it power by just accepting. Accept, oh, I could lose this client. I could. I don't know that. I could lose this client. I could lose my house. I could lose my body. I could lose a limb of my body. I could lose my relationship, right? People really act in inappropriate ways, and their minds get all bent out of shape and neurotic from thinking that they could lose a partner, right? I could lose a partner. I could lose the money in my bank account. Yeah, you could. You could lose those things. They could all leave today. This is the truth about life is, we're all going to die. So you're all going to lose everything anyway. It's going to go poof at some point in your life, right? The only thing that you get to take with you is the contents of your heart, which is obviously why we're focusing on how to fill up your heart with good things during this course. But yeah, we need to be prepared to lose everything. And that means, just accepting that you could lose everything today. You could lose all your money. You could lose your house. You could lose your partner. You don't have to die to lose everything either. They could leave you now. And when you accept that, you can be at peace and you can act with joy, with love, with benefit, with kindness, with happiness. You can bring good emotions to all those things, which will make it so that you don't lose them. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so I hope this helps you. So this is how I think. Again, just think about it like this. Accept the worst case scenario. And you start to be afraid that your clients are going to leave. Just accept. They could all leave. And now you can act from a positive place and keep them, right? Or you might, we've already covered it all. So hope that helps. Another good thing, sometimes we have neurotic fear that doesn't make sense. So then we just start to question it. Poke holes in the fantasy weaved by fear, because a lot of times it doesn't make sense, right? People get this scared when they think about putting themselves out there online as like a healer or coach or a spiritual person, putting yourself out there for who you really are. It can feel very scary. And we might think, well, the police will come for me. I'll get thrown in jail. I'm going to be killed. Something bad's going to happen to me if I do this. That's an unrealistic fear, right? That's a fantasy with a bad ending. So we look at something positive for us to do and we imagine a bad ending to it. So one way is to just accept, this could happen. This could totally happen. And now it loses power, and now you can act and do it anyway. That's what I would recommend. But sometimes it's good to use logic as well. Well, I'm not going to do it. This isn't really going to happen to me. The police aren't going to come and arrest me just for talking about my meditation classes online or whatever. Does that make sense? So use some logic too. Okay. Okay, so I hope this helps you to release some fear. This is what I use for myself. Just remember that it's a projection. Everything is a projection of the mind. And when the mind projects, when a negative mind projects, it's always a scary thing, and you just shouldn't believe it. Don't believe it. Don't believe it, okay? We can choose to project the things that we want to project. So you can choose to believe, I do this Facebook Live and I get 10 clients. You can choose to believe, I'm going to be able to pay my rent every month. You can choose to believe, right? When I put myself out there, people fall in love with me. and I create abundance for myself and others. Choose to project those things, and then you'll start to create those things, right? When we project positive things, we create positive things. So this is where we need to start practicing projecting positive things, okay? And we need to stop projecting negative things. So if you do start to project a negative thing, just realize this is just a projection. This is not real. This is not real. This is fantasy with a bad ending. I'm not gonna feed this. This is complete garbage BS. Okay? And even if it was real, I could accept it. Okay? So this is what I do. This is what I would do if I were in your position. So to practice this for the next 24 hours, practice just looking to see what your mind is projecting, and just try to project positive things. On purpose, project positive things and believe in the positive things. Then you'll start to create those positive things, okay? It's the way to do this with mastery is to know that what you're projecting is a projection. So when you're believing in a positive thing, you can simultaneously know that you're projecting something. That's okay to do. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to believe in projections of mind. In fact, we shouldn't believe. We should know that everything is just a projection of the mind. Even positive things in your life are projections of your mind. Okay. So whenever you're imagining things are going to go well, just know that it's a projection, and that when you believe in it, just know that you're creating it through that belief. This is the way to do it with the most mastery. That way you don't get attached and you don't get rigid and holding on to it. It's flexible because you know it's just a projection, but you know that you can believe it into existence. You can believe things into existence. Okay? You can believe, you do. We do believe things into existence. If there's a potential for something to exist and we believe it strongly enough, consistently enough, it's going to be there. We're going to experience it. Okay. So do this with positive things, and do this with positive things while knowing that this is what you're doing. That's the mastery. That's how you prevent any confliction of mind. Sometimes we get very conflicted because we do this, but part of us doesn't believe it. Like, don't get it twisted. Just do this anyway. Project something positive, believe in it as a means of creating it. You will create it, but know that you're projecting it. That way you can be infinitely flexible and you don't get attached to it. Does that make sense? Okay. And when it comes to the fear-based projections, just know that they're projections and stop believing in them. Stop believing in them. They're not real at all. They're completely not real. They're just ideas. Okay. And even if they were real, if you find yourself getting disturbed by them, it means you're feeding it. It means you're believing it. Okay. Sometimes our mind is too disturbed to see that it's not real. And we have to start with this other step, which is accepting. Oh, I just accept. Even if this was real, I could accept. I accept that if I do this Facebook Live, everyone on earth is going to start hating me. I accept. And once you accept it, then you can start laughing at it and be like, oh, ha, ha, ha. I know it's not really real either. Ha, ha, ha. Right? To see how you can do both of these together. So first, accept. If it's disturbing your mind, you won't be able to see that it's not real. You won't be able to see it's just a projection. So then you just accept. I accept. Even if this was real, I accept. And now from a peaceful place, you can start to see, oh, you know what? And this is just my mind's projection. It's not real. Fantasy with a bad ending. I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not going to feed it. I'm not going to give it energy anymore. Beautiful, wonderful. And that becomes a decision that you can meditate on. And it's just a mindfulness practice for you to practice all the time. So practice this when you're not meditating, just in between now and the next session. When you watch the next video for the next 24 hours or so, just practice this. Okay, and I'll see you in the next video.